Welcome back to the Unprofessional Footballer podcast, episode something in the 30s. We're a few episodes back, and I'll be honest, I have no idea what episode we're on, but it'll be probably 32, 33, something like that. Today, joined with me, we have Ben from Tiki Taka Tours. Ben, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what Tiki Taka Tours is and why you're here.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. So I'm Ben, the founder of Tiki Taka Tours, and essentially trying to build the go-to platform for amateur footballers to play football abroad by making it as accessible and available as possible. So the way that the trips work are not only are we organising a football holiday abroad, but it's the tournament organised, it's all filmed, and then the holiday logistics in terms of the accommodation, the transfers, the pitch rental, tournament organisation, match filming, and hospitality discounts are all involved and included as well. And then you get a 4-night trip, 2-day tournament, prizes at the end for best player, top goal scorer and winning team as well. And currently our flagship destination down in Albufeira in the Algarve in Portugal. And we've got some other in the pipeline as well. We've got Rhodes at the end of April with a pilot running there. Tenerife, hopefully for the end of the year, and Malta, others that are in the pipeline as well. So yeah, very much excited to hopefully take amateur footballers from around the UK, but also eventually around the world to different destinations and combine playing football and going on holiday with your mates in one package, really.
It's basically the ultimate football holiday experience, isn't it? That's the short way of putting it. I think.
Exactly that. That's actually one of the taglines I had at the start, the ultimate football holiday. That's pretty much what it is.
And like you said, you cover all bases in terms of like attention to detail. You say you got top scorer, you've got all the different awards for players, you've got group stages, you've got the finals on its own separate day. Can't really ask for more, can you?
Yeah, exactly that. And to be honest, a lot of it comes from, like me and you will sit there and watch the Champions League, Europa League and all these international tournaments. And part of my thinking when I came around to it was, these guys are getting paid hundreds of thousands a week or whatever it is, but we have access to planes, we have access to hotels, and we have access to pitches. So for what reason can we as amateur players not have that same experience? And, being an amateur player myself, I play 11 aside on the weekends, 5, 6 aside with my mates every week. It got to the point where I was booking one holiday with my mates and sort of, we talk about like a eureka light bulb moment, but it was just basically a load of logistical hassle around booking the holiday. And I actually looked for a hotel with a pitch and I thought, this could be a good idea. And then, snowball in my head started to go a little bit. And I thought this, in terms of other sports, they do this for golf, they do it for tennis. It's something that's available and accessible. But for the small-sided football scene, which is something that's massively growing, especially in the UK, I didn't feel like it existed. And if it did, it's something that would have reached me in terms of social media somehow. So the snowball started there really. And as an amateur player myself, it's something that I wanted to experience. And luckily was in the position in my career where it was a bit of a crossroads. So I just went all in and thought, this is the time to start it and hopefully create something pretty big.
It was definitely one of those that the moment I came across it on socials, I think Instagram was the first place I saw it.
Yeah.
Caught my attention and I was like, why hasn't someone done this before? Like this is actually such a good idea, but two, it's so easy to like find your audience.
Yeah.
Because everyone loves a lad's holiday. Most of the lads love a game of football.
Yeah.
And then you always, you see obviously like let's say your 5-a-side, your 11-a-side teams, they go on tour at the end of the season, they'll pick a place, go over to have a bit of a holiday, try and find some football while they're over there. It's always a nightmare trying to find a team to play against.
Yeah.
You see the likes of, let's say, Five Guys right now, they've just gone over to, I think it was Czech Republic, somewhere like that.
Yeah, Portugal before that as well.
Portugal before that, and they're trying to find teams to play against from that country, which poses its own problems, waiting and hoping that these guys on the other end of the, let's say, Facebook or whatever are actually going to show up.
Yeah, exactly.
Are going to be the same level or not.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of different logistics that come into it, trying to arrange it just a 1v1.
Yeah. And I actually had a conversation with Five Guys about it. So they'd come across the page and I sort of, threw the idea out to them and, they actually came back and said, we're looking to do more of these things, but exactly the problems that, like how do we find a team? And for the Czech Republic, I sent over 5 or 6 teams that someone in my network sent over to me. But ultimately it's lads look for this lads holiday experience. And I say initially lads, because it's something that I want to be fully accessible for all age groups. So, but I know that to get it kicked off, we have to start with the group that's going to have the highest demand, which is with lads. But I've already had interest from women's teams, from vets teams, from disability teams, all these different walks of life. So, but when you have an experience that's something a little bit different, because the typical group holiday, maybe you're going out and you're rolling out of bed at midday and then
you waste so much of the day.
You're on holiday, ultimately, you want to make the most of that time.
You book a holiday and you spend about 16 hours in the room dying and another 4 or 5 hours on the strip.
We get you out of the room essentially. And also, you get those endorphins, you play football, you have the great time, and then you go after
sweat all the alcohol out.
And you earn everything afterwards as well. And something you touched upon in terms of the logistics around finding teams. So just touching on the structure of the tours that we run at the moment. So what we do is we get 4 teams out on one trip. So this is from Wednesday to Sunday. The Wednesday we do the welcome drinks, getting all the teams together, breaking the ice, meeting each other, often from around the UK, these different teams. And then the Thursday we do the group stage. So round robin, everyone plays everyone. Friday is the finals day, semi-finals, finals, third place playoff based off of the table from the Thursday. Then we do an awards night where the videographer who's Roots TV, who's very big in the Grassroots game, he captures all of it. And then we show back the best clips on and off the pitch from the week, give, as I mentioned, the prizes out. But that's the current structure of it. But with the general bigger idea in the future is for guys like the 11-a-side teams who are going and doing these football tours at the end of the season, it might not necessarily be within that structure, but I want to create a platform where these guys can go, where do we want to go on our tour? We'll go to Spain, and then they can go on, whether it's an app or a website, they come and find different teams that can facilitate that, different levels, so everyone's fully in the know of, okay, this is the team, they're at this level, this is where we'd be going, and you can sort all of the logistics within one place. So yes, the structure is what it looks like at the moment, because that's how I can get it operational and, get, like you say, the attention, because so many people message me saying what you said is, I've never seen this before, why doesn't this exist? And I thought the same thing when I was building it. And then I thought maybe there is a reason this doesn't exist, and it might be the margins or this or that. But rather than let those thoughts cascade, I just thought, okay, I'm going to do it, make it happen, and then we'll see where it goes, because I know that it will get the backing from people like me and you as well. Yeah,
the one thing I will ask, logistics wise, obviously I know what it's like to run a 5-a-side game. To arrange 10 players is hard enough around the corner at your local goal centre or wherever you're playing. How tricky is the process in terms of bringing the teams and making sure they turn up, and making sure, I guess because they're putting so much of a deposit down, it almost guarantees they're not going to fuck you about, because... Yeah,
exactly. So, I mean, it's the same with any other holiday, is that once you're paid and people book flights and stuff,
you're committed,
aren't they? But the trickiest part that I've found so far is we get the 1 or 2 that are really interested, and then as with anything, it's convincing the rest of the group. And a lot of the stumbling block has been around just because it's not a known concept, or I've actually had people say to me, I threw it out to the lads, but they didn't even know that this was possible. And well, that's why this now exists. So it's just getting the proof of concept with more teams. And, in terms of getting guys on board, I am the guy in my group chats who gets the trips out of it. So I know how difficult it can be. And a lot of it's chasing money in these things. And we've actually partnered with a registered UK travel company who deal with all the payments, and it goes into a payment trust. So it adds that layer of trust and security. So everything's in line with UK package travel regulations. And what happens is, once the guys are keen, you send a link, they all put £100 deposit down individually. Then on email, they get when they need to pay the next thing. So rather than the guy who's organised it having then to continue to do all these things, it's taken off your hands. And funnily enough, in a group chat just this morning, one of the guys was saying, it seems really simple and straightforward to do. And that's the whole idea. It's trying to make it as hassle-free as possible.
Smooth as possible. Yeah, because let's face it, probably the biggest point that would make people want to come back is how smooth it is to actually set up.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one of the proudest things about what I've built so far is the number of teams that want to come back already. So I mentioned the pilot we're running in Rhodes. We've got 4 teams that have rebooked and come onto that, and they were all immediately keen. So I've ran 2 tours in October, which were the first that I did with teams that I didn't know personally. And all of them said at the end, we're definitely coming back in another place, whether it's Rhodes, a lot of them want to do Malta, Tenerife, and I've said these different destinations as places that will get up and running. And a few of them have booked on already. So 5 of them have rebooked, and then the other ones are just waiting for another destination, and hopefully we'll get them back as well. So I think that's a really important metric of, okay, when people come on these tours, we're actually delivering to the point where they know what it's about and they want to come back, because even with lads they've already been on with, because they're making new friendships with these different teams that they go on, which is part of the experience as well.
I think the networking side of football is so important. Like you said, just a little random holiday that you go on with 4 other teams. Suddenly you've got mates from all around the UK, and you just never know when you're going to move.
Yeah, exactly.
Suddenly you know people in different areas. You might be abroad. And again, like you said, the more people keep rebooking on these tours, the more they know each other. It might even be the fact that okay, team A, 2 players want to come back, but the rest of their team don't have the money for it that week. So then suddenly they tell one of the other teams that they've booked on with before, you got any extra places? Suddenly
exactly.
they still get their lads' holiday out of it. And without having to rely on 6 of their mates to actually commit to it.
And on that side of things, an interesting case study on the networking and the connections that we create on this tour is the one that I've got coming up next week. We have one team that I basically had 3 teams confirmed, and I was looking to make this final team, and I messaged a lot of the lads who had been before. And we've got 4 lads from 2 separate teams who are coming back to the same place to help me out, as well as a few solo players. So I've made up sort of a makeshift team. Some of these lads are coming in a month's time to Rhodes, but they are coming because they love the experience that much. And then another point about the connections you make on the tour is one of the teams that came in October, they have an absurd name, the Middlesex Offenders. Yeah. I made really good connections with those boys, like really good lads. And one of them dropped me a message, Prav dropped me a message a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "Hey mate, hope you're well. We've had the opportunity through work to play in a tournament at Stamford Bridge. He knows I'm a big Chelsea fan. He was just saying, we'd love to have you to come and play if you like." Cool. So I thought, very, very cool. I was immediately like, yes. Where do I sign? He was like, oh, it's about 100 quid per person. I was like, mate, it could be 500 quid and I'd pay to play on Stamford Bridge. So, just from
childhood making this happen,
from the tours and the connections we've made, I've got the opportunity to tick off a childhood dream of playing at my club stadium. So that's something that's pretty special about it as well.
I mean, I think we're definitely at a point in the UK where like you said, the amateur football scene is growing so popular.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had the kind of wave of Sunday League. That's kind of on the way down now. Obviously, the YouTubers shifted the attention towards small-sided football, which definitely helps your case.
Yeah.
You've had, obviously, 2 YouTube teams go on so far? You definitely had JR Twins. I know they're growing on YouTube. Pathetico are the other team that are kind of mixing it up a little bit with YouTube at the moment. They're probably more small-sided as opposed to a YouTube football team.
Yeah.
But they're definitely crossing over with the likes of Baller League now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a massive plus for us, is that those guys in general, and they've got a massive squad, so like 200 people in their group chat. So, the guys that are playing in the Baller League squad aren't necessarily the ones that come out with us, but that club, because it is a club that Zhao's built really, it's an amazing representation of what you can build around a community around the small-sided game. And so obviously they're massive in the small-sided space. The JR Twins, who we sponsor them, and Sports Attire FC. So them 2 hadn't met as teams before they came on the tour together.
They now collab, right?
They have collabed, and we've sponsored that collab as well. So they'll be playing in tournaments around the UK, which I'll probably try and play in some of them myself as well. But that's the perfect representation of what the tours represent, is we've got 2 teams, got along really well. I mean, essentially you're on holiday together with lads of similar ages, and agreed to go and play some tournament football together. And I think those 2 teams combined will create a really competitive team. And it's obviously something that lasts way beyond the tour, because they're now going to be playing, they've got our sponsorship, they've got our backing, and they're going to be playing in tournaments around the UK. And
just more promotion for you as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
The more they represent your badge, it's
and it's us supporting them as well. Like these guys who back the idea from the start, they're going to be the ones in my head. This wouldn't have happened without them. So even all the ones that have come already so far, whatever I can do to help them out in terms of bringing them on another tour. If they're like, we can do these dates, but not these, then because they're the ones that have made it happen.
You're going to want to try and
help them
compromise
as well.
more to help them.
This doesn't exist without those guys believing in it, when there was only one tour, which was a pilot with my mates as evidence. And, those 2 tours that we had, turned out so well, and the guys had such a good time that without that happening and the promotional content that we got from that to be able to push it to more people, without them, Tiki Taka Tours as it is now doesn't exist. So
I like the fact that, again, the ceiling is so high, because at the moment you're doing 5-a-side teams based in the UK, but it really does open up globally. Like, you could have a team from Brazil message you and say, hey, we know you're doing a tournament, let's say in Portugal. Can we book a place on there? There's nothing really stopping that from down the line happening. Suddenly you've got this global experience where you can bring teams that are either based in the place you're going to. Like, I know that's kind of how we got discussions going in the first place, was you're scouting the area of Malta, which we'll get into later on in the episode. But we kind of came into touch about, someone had recommended you reach out to us because we had a 5-a-side team that had been playing at the pitch that you just happened to be looking at. So again, it's like those little crossovers where you then start to build up this big black book of contacts that you can just rely on if you're ever in need. Let's say you've booked 4 teams, one team last minute pulls out for whatever reason. you can just kind of ring up a contact that you have that's already there.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes the whole process a lot smoother. You're not booking last minute flights for people.
Yeah. And exactly that. This is the second operational year. And from creating the content, I've already got contacts in Brazil, in Thailand, guys in Australia who follow the page. So we're already getting that global reach, which is why I say the ultimate goal is to build a global platform of small-sided, but also, there's no reason this can't be 11-a-side tournaments when you sort of scale. So the scalability of it is massive. And like you mentioned, even in Portugal at the moment, one of the bars has a football team. So if I ever have 3 teams and I'm unable to get the 4th, I can now confirm a tour when there's 3 teams because they will always want to come and play, and they've told me that as well. So yeah, this sort of web of connections throughout the world, I'm planning on visiting Rio in August to sort of have a look at this experience and see how it would work operationally. And that would be a little bit different as well, because it's going, rather than as a team, it's, like maybe a couple of mates or individual players that go out and have this sort of favela football experience and play against these guys who are now growing massively on socials because they're unbelievably skillful Brazilian street footballers, and that is part of the experience that you want. But yeah, even in Thailand, it's something that obviously from the UK, that's quite a task to get, but I've got contact in Singapore, so we can create different aspects of these tours, UK to Portugal, UK to Greece, but then we can also do Singapore to Thailand, Bangkok to Samui, all these different places within. So there's so much opportunity for growth. It's just the only thing that's sort of stopping that from happening is time, proof of concept, and once I build it beyond myself, because it's just me at the moment. But
bring a few more members of operations.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't doubt as well that
grows.
Yeah, a lot of the people that might end up coming and working as part of this business will be the people that have come on the tours already, because I think to be a tour rep, which is, I guess, is sort of what I am, you have to understand what the experience is like and be able to repeat it in the same way. So a lot of the guys who are coming back and who, repeatedly come on these tours, when we're at the point in a few years' time where we're looking to remove myself as the rep and sort of overlook all of these different global operations we've got, we'll need people in each destination to be able to host who get it, which is the culture and the importance of that side of things. So yeah, there will be loads of opportunity. It's like videographers, tour hosts, editors, all these different things, like pitches that reach out to me. Like when I contacted you, and then when I go anywhere, I can sort of put up my story, or I've got someone from Barcelona contacted me. There's no shortage of pitches and places, and no shortage of players. So that's one of the things I love when you go abroad, is the amount of like just remote football pitches that you find that are like picturesque destinations. Like I know there's some pitches in Malta that are basically on the sea. Yeah. And it's like, you look at your backdrop and you've got the ocean. Yeah,
like,
unreal.
You're looking at it like, man, like there's some nice, and like, again, even that Monster pitch, the one that you were looking at.
Yeah.
It's just perfect. The size of it, you've got the little 5-a-side pitch on its own. The bar is next to it.
Yeah.
And then you've got the shopping mall and everything just on the other side, all the food venues on the other side. And that was a selling point for me with that location when I was hosting the 5s over there. Was I love the fact as well, it's its own standalone 5-a-side pitch. I've never really been keen on, when they divide the 11s pitch into 3s, you've got nets and other things in the way. I much prefer like a dedicated 5-a-side venue, which in the UK, it's actually quite tricky to find that, I've found. Like, obviously you've got the goal centres. Like,
but I can't even think of one now off the top of my head, really.
I know I was doing some location scouting for the 5s that I want to run in London. Yeah. And I've come across 2 pitches that were like the only 2 I've found that really match that kind of aesthetic that I had in Malta, which was, there was one, I think it's like the William Tyne Primary School or something in Highbury. Okay. It's a really random location. It's like
still connected to something else, isn't it? It's not
exactly.
Like just,
it's a school. So then there's a load of other logistics that come into play of, okay, I can't just rent this and it be my pitch. Like I'm sharing with the school. We've got to be quite cautious about how we obviously present things and who's coming, and then background checks almost. So I kind of shied away from that one. And then the other one is, I think it's called like Down Lane Park in Tottenham. Okay. And that location, honestly, I was very impressed. And I've seen a few videos from it. Looks awesome. So it turns out the people that I actually just hosted in the last podcast, London Ballers, they actually started their operations at that pitch. So they've got all the booking connections and stuff there. So again, like you were saying with the whole networking side of things, just that little talk we had about that suddenly made it very accessible for me to then go and actually get a hold of the pitch and figure out how I'm going to do it. So that worked really well. But yeah, it's something I really wish there were more of, like these little 5-a-side pitches, 6-a-side pitches in the UK.
And you would think for, one of the biggest countries, biggest cities in the world, London, that there would be a little bit more of that. But even, I think the only one I've played on is in Old Street, and it's on a roof, and it's
yes.
Have you seen that one? I mean, it's a super cool pitch to play at. But apart from that, there's nothing. It's all like, you'd say, goals, power league. Yeah. Even the one that I play at, and I'm actually trying to start like a weekly community playing at in Brixton. Yeah. It's sort of like that, but it's 3 pitches in a row still. So it's the cage. But having experienced the pitches in Malta and the pitches in Rhodes and the ones in Tenerife and seen all of these places, obviously the one in Portugal as well, you sort of go over there and you're like, wow, this is actually what it could be like. And in Rhodes, we just walked onto these pitches. There's no one there and the gates are just open. Yeah. So it's as accessible as ever. Obviously, to organize something, we would have to like make sure that it's more organized than just walking on. But if you went on a holiday there and came across it, like we did, we had someone show us around, but we just went on these pitches with a ball and filmed a bit of content, and it was unreal. So there are these massive, like unreal picturesque pitches around Europe, and people maybe don't know who are playing in cages the whole time, like what it looks like. And I wasn't necessarily, I didn't even really think about that part of it first. I thought about the holiday side, and then I went out there and I was like, oh, there's so many places. Location
wise, the scouting almost becomes part of the fun when you're going over there just to go.
Exactly. And no, I was lucky enough last summer. So I was in between tours. So my first one in March and then October. And I thought, how am I going to use this time in the middle? So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go find some places. I put a video out where I was like, if you've got a destination you want us to check out, send it over to me. I had a guy from Rhodes reach out, and then someone from a DMC in Malta reach out as well. And then I was like, okay, Rhodes I booked 2 weeks after he contacted me. I spoke on the phone with this guy, Rod, who is Welsh and has lived there for 5 years. And he drove us around the island, checked out all these pitches, made a YouTube video, and then went to Malta, did exactly the same, had someone called Sasha take us round. And then he mentioned your page. And then it was annoying because I'd messaged you like just after we'd done everything. If I'd known that before I'd came, then we definitely would have been able to organize a game or something. But yeah, hopefully when I'm back in June, I can get something sorted out on that front as well. But it just goes to show that people want their pictures to be seen, their location. And you and Rod are English and Welsh, but you spent time in Rhodes and Malta, and you become part of that culture and the experience, and you know what it's got to represent and to show. Maybe just doesn't have, we were talking earlier about Malta being somehow a hidden gem still, as beautiful as it is, and hopefully becoming a more popular destination as well. But we were coming across beautiful pitches, and almost all of them had like a paddle court next to it as well. It's like, why not?
The funny thing about that is in Malta, obviously the paddle craze hit Malta. Yeah. And they didn't really have any venues. The only places really that had the facilities to do it were the football clubs. Yeah. And obviously the football clubs are always looking for new revenue streams. So then the partnerships basically just became like every football team you saw, as soon as they're redoing their pitch, because they usually get redone every 3 to 4 years just because the surface takes a battering over there. Yeah. The moment they're redoing the pitch, they're like, oh, we've got enough space for a paddle court there. Yeah. So every football pitch you go to in Malta basically has a paddle court.
And one of them, I think it was the one in Valletta, it had the paddle court was just on where the pitch used to be. Yeah. Like literally just on top of it. It's like maybe more effective use of space if you can rent it out for an hour, but also in terms of a trip when you're going and playing with your mates, you play football, and then even if you're not too tired or where it is, then you can just go and organize paddle because you're out there with a group of 8, which is sort of perfect for two different
tournaments.
Courts. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So definitely got another string to its bow in that sense as well.
No, I've always said with Malta, because I've got in touch with a few of the guys now from, let's say, London football scene, and told them like, guys, if you want to do like the football experience in Malta, just tell me. Like, I've got the whole network of football on my telephone, and I always know, especially during the summer when everyone's out of contract, everyone wants to play. Yeah, and because Malta's so small and most of the players know their ceiling for like viewership is nothing. Like no one's watching the Maltese Football League. For them to get an opportunity to play against, let's say, like a Five Guys, because I've been in touch with them, SE Dons have also been in touch with, and told them like, you guys want to go over there, like you will drive up a caliber of player that it just is not accessible in England. Yeah. You'll have Premier League footballers wanting to play against you lot because, again, they understand that getting 200 to 1 million viewers on YouTube does their career so much better than playing a couple of games in Malta where your audience is 20 people from down the local city.
Yeah.
And everyone else is watching Juventus or Barcelona.
Yeah, true.
So for things like that, it's like, I was really happy with setting up the tournaments I was doing over there in the summer, just because, like you were saying about proof of concept, it allowed me to have a caliber of player that I just wouldn't have been able to attract in England if I just brought it here straight away.
Yeah.
So now I'm coming across to the UK with the likes of people that have played in the Champions League, people that have played in the Europa League, international players with like 50, 60 caps, and saying, look, like I've got good players that have participated in this and they love it. So like there's a reason for you to want to do it here in London. And I think it's one of those. I'm looking forward to bringing it across to London. But
yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, I'm always looking for other ways to kind of keep my contacts in Malta regulars and like busy. So if you're ever doing the tournament out in Malta,
100%.
Tell me, because I'll happily put together a team, match whatever level you've got of players, and then we can set something up.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, in terms of the way we run it at the moment as well, obviously I'm just like, okay, we'll take the teams and we'll play against each other. But in the future, you want to be able to play against the teams that are from these places. And no one ever loses out of this brand and what we do, because we're providing the guys who are in the locations, if we play against locals, with, you know, as our fan base or viewership, whatever you want to call it, as that grows and as we get a bit bigger audience is the better word, as the audience grows, anyone who we're playing against and we're filming all of the content, so it's such a social media machine. You know, I actually hit 500 posts on Instagram yesterday, and that's from 3 tours. So we've got so much more that we can come and generate. But these guys who are playing in this, wherever we're going, Malta, Rhodes, if we're playing against locals, Tenerife, then we're providing them with the platform and the opportunity to be seen. And I say to guys, and in terms of actually what we're talking about in global network, I spoke to a couple guys yesterday from Nigeria who were asking about, you know, the tours and the visa situations and how they'd come over and if anyone had ever come from different countries around the world. It goes to show that the global reach is already there. And they were asking about, you know, will we be able to get the opportunity to maybe get trials from this? And I say, well, not directly, but, you know, we've had, for example, in October, one of the Pathetico boys, I think is step 4, step 5. He actually has an agent who is Dwight Gale, I think. Okay. So, and he scored like the most ridiculous hat trick I've seen on the tour. And I keep rinsing that footage because I'm like, you know, it's perfect.
I was actually just about to touch on the caliber of some of the goals that get scored on that tour. I watched a couple of the highlights just before you came.
So that's the Pathetico tour. So them, JR Twins, SAFC and Golden Pints, who were the last team, which is Sam Madden, who's a UK freestyler. He put a team together. And in fairness to them, I didn't know quite what the standard would be like. And I think they would have been perfect on the previous tour, which was still competitive. But these guys, you know, they take it all seriously. They play in competitions around the UK, and we've got guys from that tour who have been selected for England's 6-a-side, who, you know, they're in a small-sided game. They're some of the best players, you know, around the scene and around the circuit. So we'll have that tier, but a lot of people always ask, what standard is it? Like, can we come if we're Sunday League? And it's like, the whole idea, and to wrap my head around now, is how do we tier it from the guys who are those step 4, step 5, step 6 playing competitively to the Sunday League, just making sure we squash that as much as we can, because even football being the game that it is, you can pull off shock results against better teams, but you want it competitive in a way. So
there's nothing worse than turning up and getting bopped. I saw Golden Pints lost 10-0
and I think by that point, because if they were on the tour before, like all of the lads that tour were out to like 4 a.m. on the strip like they were, but they were sort of one of the only teams doing that on the second tour. So again, that'll be a learning curve from just doing the tours and finding it out. I think this one we've got next week is hopefully very similar standards. And I know that the April one, because they're all teams that have come, Pathetico, JR Twins, both on that one coming back, there'll be similar standards. But that's the main challenge really, is how do we match, rather than just doing the ones that are first wanting to do it, which is obviously the temptation. It's when we get that demand and that interest and we plan for 2027, we go, okay, in April, we've got a social one and a competitive one. And we have those different tiers and try and make sure that no one's coming. And, you know, even though Golden Pints got put 10 put on them. I'm speaking to Sam about getting them to Tenerife later this year because they still love the experience, and that's exactly what we want. He said like, can you just make sure the teams are a bit more closer to us? And I was like, yeah, man. I was like, I'm sorry about that, but they still absolutely love the experience, and that's what it's all about. So
it's just one of those things as well. It almost relies on the team themselves giving you an honest review of what their ability is. I mean, there's always a little bit of ego involved.
Always, yeah. I was about to say that.
The team that's, let's say, if you're tiering it from 1 to 10, 10 being the best, the team that's maybe a 4 might try and squeeze, now we're a 6, we're a 7.
Yeah.
Then when they turn up
lower because they want to win it, it's so hard to gauge it. And that's, when I say like, what level are you boys? And, typically when I think about where it came from, it's mainly for groups that just play 5, 6, 7 aside in the week, but you still get a lot of Saturday league players doing that. So the standard side of it will be a learning curve and how we get that right. But again, it's just the process of doing it to work that out. And the more eyeballs we get, the more demand we get, the more opportunity we can get to tier things and make it different, standards of competition, then the better it will get, and the more competitive every tour will be as well.
Well, it's one of those as well, like you were saying with the repeat purchase. You come once, that's almost your chance to evaluate them as well. So then okay, I know your level. I won't put you against other people that
exactly
I know are too good or too bad for you. So
and that helps massively, like having seen them with your own eyes. Like it's a difference maybe when the guys who are posting and you can see how good they are, but ultimately it is a guessing game. You have to rely on people's self-assessment, but then the more we do, the more people are coming back. I can then maybe say to 4 teams who are from different tours, I'm like, I think you 4 would make a great tour together. You'd be competitive. Let's do one in Malta in, summer 2027 or whatever it is, and do it that way and be like, work a year ahead, work with them for their summer plans, get it booked in with the hotels, sort the logistics, and then it becomes super easy to be able to build. And
I suppose when you're the one actually putting together the tours at that point, because what teams are interested, you can almost handpick and say, right, boys, you guys sorted. Then it's just, okay, work within yourselves. Tell me the dates that work for all 4 of you.
Yeah, exactly.
And then after that, it's smooth sailing.
100%.
And when everyone's available.
Yeah, and the more time you can get ahead. So once I sort this year out, so we're close to finalising the teams for July, then 2 in October again, which I actually found as a great place in a time in Portugal because it's like 25 degrees and it's starting to get a bit darker and colder here. So it's not too hot to play, but it's perfect holiday weather. Then once I've got that pipeline lined up, I can be like, okay, how does 2027 look for tours? Then I reach out to all the guys because there's countless people who have said, mate, I love this concept. This year's busy already. Like, let's do it for next year. And people obviously book quite far ahead sometimes with holidays, maybe with the groups of lads we're looking at, not so much, but it depends. And a lot of people have family and girlfriends and wives or whatever, kids that they go on these holidays with. So it's giving enough time to be like, okay, now I can go from the tours we do, I say to 4 teams, you boys would be perfect for a tour. Would you want to come back? Would you want to go to Malta, Tenerife, whatever? And then we build it from there and do it that way. So it will only get smoother as you keep going. And the more people we get on board, the more that operations is smooth. And even the booking process, integrating it through the website, because currently it's sort of through me. There's a little bit of friction there. So, but all of that comes with, being a solo entrepreneur and working out these things that I've identified already. I know the areas of the business that can improve, where maybe AI could help, and the things that I'm doing where it's actually low leverage for my time. I know that where I need to outsource as soon as I'm able to, and then it will just sort of become way smoother and easier, and I'll be sort of removing myself from that booking process. People do it easily. There's trust integrated, and then we go out there and I'm meeting the boys on there, and we all have a great experience.
It almost reminds me a little bit. Do you remember the TV show that used to be, I think it was Channel 4 or something. It was like Magaluf Weekender or something.
Yeah.
Where almost the reps themselves are the influencer personalities.
Yeah.
So I could see that being somewhat similar in the sense that if you're running 2 or 3 tours at the same time, that casting of finding that person that knows the experience, it completes the trip, and that your rep is the one that's really going to make everyone enjoy it and buzz off of it.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously a lot of the experience just revolves on the guys that come and they're on holiday and they're bringing that energy, and it's great. So it's just directing people and just making sure that they know the structure of the tour,
where to be, when to be, the schedule.
That's the hardest thing for lads, isn't it? It's like, where do we go? What time do we turn up? What do we do? And it's like, right, well, we have 10 hospitality partners in Portugal. We go to this sports bar on the Wednesday night. We go to this one on the Thursday. We do the presentation night here. lead them all in the right direction. There's this one karaoke bar, which is probably the size of this room actually.
Yeah.
And every tour we've been on so far, we've ended up in that small room karaoke bar and like packing it out. But that's like part of the experience is, I'm not forcing as much of a karaoke man I am myself. I'm not forcing the guys to go there and do it, but it feels like integrated into the football lad is like, chanting, but like everyone's like, have a sing, so fuck it, why not? So there's I try and lead it as much as I can, but ultimately I feel like there's always personalities that take it and bring the energy. And the first October tour, we had guys in this massive karaoke bar that were just chanting. I've got like 5-minute videos of them sort of back and forth chanting, and it's, that's a proper football atmosphere that we're doing. And we also do a Dick of the Tour punishment. So it's a really big karaoke bar. It's probably capacity about 200 people. And the two people who have done it so far have done Someone Like You by Adele, which you find when we've always had like lads that are sort of, obviously everyone's watching, we've got the camera on them as well, and everyone's sort of like swaying like that, and they've both nailed it so far, and it's been brilliant. But again, that's like I can't force anyone to do that. And on one of the tours, which was actually the one where everyone was chanting, we didn't even get round to doing it. But I can say like, right, I'll give you maybe a Dick of the Tour t-shirt. You either wear that until you do the karaoke and then you can take it off or something like that. But it's all just part of the fun.
Yeah, exactly. That's
not
it.
taking it too seriously.
I think that's the main thing. Obviously, like, you're there to obviously do your tournament.
Yeah.
But at the same time, understanding that it is a holiday and it's meant to be relaxed. It's meant to be that blend of, okay, this is your downtime and free time to kind of do and chill and relax and get away from all the stresses of everyday life. And then obviously making sure the tournament runs to its structure and
exactly. And we've had
the times,
we've had teams that wanted to go off and do their own thing and go out for dinner. And, we do on the Thursday, I say like optional, because I've got loads of football shirts myself. I do like a football shirt night for all of you who want to come. We'll go normally together, but sometimes a team will want to go out for dinner because it's their holiday. And I'll never be like,
you can't do that.
Yeah, I'll be like, come on. I'll be like, I can guide it as much as I want. Even if I'll put myself, at the sports bar, if no one turns up, it's fine. It means I can just go to bed early and get prepped for the game the next day. I sort of, I love being part of the group. But ultimately these guys are in their own groups and want to be on holidays together so they can do and spend their time however they please, as long as they're there for the games and actually get out of bed and turn up. I don't care. Have
you had any instances where you've had to go knock in and try and find people?
Wow. Do you know what? On the first tour, it was this time last year and it was raining. So I actually pushed it back by an hour. And I think if I didn't, we would have had a few not no shows, but late turn ups, because that was on the Friday. The Thursday night was quite a big one. We were in that karaoke bar for a while, but so far no shows, which is good. Some of it's just getting the boys to the games on time, because in between the games, sometimes we have a bit of a break and people go and get, because they're right next, it's like part of a cafe. So people go and get a couple beers or go around the corner and get Mackies or whatever, just making sure people are there. But the post that I put out on the Monday of the tour week is the match schedule. It's got the times of each game, so when you need to turn up, repeating that on the group chat when we're there, just reinforcing everything every time I speak to the whole group. And ultimately people know they're there to play football. So, and I say if they turn up more than 5 minutes late, then I'll get a 2-0 deduction. So I
think what also helps is, because they're teams, really you just need one contact inside the team that is somewhat responsible and is going to respond to you.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's their problem to arrange everything.
And ultimately I know what rooms they're in because we're at the hotel. So I could, normally I'd be there first anyway and sort of get there about half an hour. But if there's one taxi that's not turned up, I can ring the hotel and be like, can you just bang as hard as you can on room 103 and just get it done that way. So there'll always be ways to get the boys up for sure.
So let's bring it back to Tour 1.
Yeah.
How long ago was that now? Back in October, did you say?
So Tour 1 was a year ago, March. So that was sort of the pilot. So I see it as just the one I was like, okay, and got this idea, want to get it going. So going back to the start of the business, I registered it in August 2024. So that was when I sort of had the idea and actually came off the back of a breakup. I was like, I need to do something. And I was career wise, I did an internship in sports marketing. And I was like, I've got this idea. I'm going to run with it. And then went round all my mates. I was like, lads, if I organize this holiday, like, are you down? Like, if I sort out all the organization, I just need you to make it happen. I had 18 lads that were like, yeah. So okay, my original idea for the 14 structure, I was just like, right, we'll run with it. We'll do 3 teams. We'll do a league table, whatever. And then 5 weeks out. So obviously this is from no content of the actual tour, but the idea that I was pushing out and posting about. Someone came into my DMs, a guy called Harrison, and he messaged me saying, I absolutely love the idea of this concept. Like, when's the next one? Can we get involved? And at that point I was trying to get one in June organized as well. And I jumped on the phone with him and I said, we'll be going out in a month or so to in March to Portugal, but then the next one will be June. And he was like, are there any more spaces on that March one? And I was like, well, actually, yeah, like I could really do with one more team to make it happen. And he was like, okay, leave it with me. And I told him the dates and he was like, it's over my birthday. Perfect. Next day, he'd had 6 lads that were keen to do it.
That's cool.
And then from there, we had 4 teams and I was like, okay, now, and I ran it in the format that we wanted to. Again, in a similar way, I was looking for a videographer, and on LinkedIn, Clinton, who is Roots TV, reached out and said, hi, mate, I love the idea of what you're doing. You know, do you need a videographer? And I was like, well, actually, yeah, I'm going on tour in 4 weeks. Like, I'd been speaking to a couple and he was like, I'd love to be a part of it. And again, we jumped on the phone. He'd done some tour-like stuff before. So I had 18 people of my mates / people I knew, 6 lads from Manchester through one of my uni mates, then 2 teams that were basically from the wider squad of my mates. And we ran out there and we did 14 tour format, made it run exactly as I wanted to. And I was one of the players. So I went out there with the idea of being the host, and as soon as someone offered me the first beer, I was like, I'm actually going to experience it as one of the players and feel it that way and see where it needs maybe.
I'll be honest, that almost helps you so much more being involved in it, just to get that perspective of, okay, this period here, there was a little bit of downtime where I kind of was like,
and it works. And it was, I mean, I really went into it thinking I'm going to do this as like the tour host. More, a lot of it was like, I don't want Clinton to think I'm unprofessional. And then all the boys were like, let me buy you a beer. And I was like, actually, I've got all my mates in one place on holiday. I was like, yeah, let's do it.
You want to enjoy it as well. Ultimately, it helps everyone else enjoy it if the host is enjoying it just as much.
We got a great video out of that tour from Clinton and his footage and all the VO footage, and, you know, rinsed that content for 6 months until the next one. Ultimately, without my mates, it wouldn't have happened. So I'll always be grateful to them.
It must have confirmed it to you so early on, though, that you'd hit a bit of a gold mine. The moment that team reached out to you with no promotion, no nothing, and within 4 weeks' notice, they're booked on, they're ready to go.
Yeah,
and they're there, and it's like, fuck me, like I haven't even put an ounce of money or effort into promotion, and there's already people that love this so much. They're trusting me without any proof of concept, without any like backing. Just, here you go, we're in.
Yeah, so this is part of the beauty of what it's like to run the tours and market it in the way that we do. Because I was just speaking to the camera and talking about the idea and trying, like it was early days of me making videos and it was shoddy when I look back at it. It was terrible. But it also speaks a lot to the beauty of the concept, is that Harrison, who has since that first tour been back on tour with us to help, because he's a keeper and plays non-league level to very, very good standard. Him and another one of my mates who is a keeper came out in October to help. So now I've got 2 keepers who I know, who I can call upon. And I've actually messaged Harrison yesterday saying, are you around in July? Because I've got a team without a keeper. But yeah, it was massive proof of concept for me. And it was more in the experience, the high that I had from the end of that trip. I was like, that couldn't have gone any better. And then I had the guys feedback and fill out these forms, and they were all like, you know, what a trip, absolutely unreal. Like, we'll definitely sort out and come back. So, you know, and a lot of them weren't even football guys. They were just like, you know, we'll come and we'll make this happen. We'll have the fun, which was again, part of the beauty, because you can have people who aren't actually that worried about the football side. And if a team needs a couple more to make up for, you know, the numbers, then they can definitely get that and reach that. So yeah, it was a really confirming moment for me that this was something that is 100% worth doing and continuing with. Like, I hit the jackpot.
It made me laugh, actually. I look back at the one we did with London Ballerz. You know, I asked you for a coconut water, I think 3 times. I didn't get a single one. I didn't get a drink the whole one. I remember there was a point we got to in the episode where I was like, looking at Fred drinking his drink. I was like, Fred, is there any left in that? And he looked at me and went, no. And then carried on drinking.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Yeah, you never gave me a drink.
You didn't ask me outright. You just basically kept signalling, as like, look at me. I kept thinking my water was in shot of the camera.
Yeah,
so I was
right. I've been messaging London Ballerz recently as well. When he said that, I was like, again, that shows the connection like that you make throughout this network of football-related small-sided stuff.
Yeah,
like,
I think UK is so connected with the small-sided football scene. But yeah, Marcelo used to coach for London Football School, which I was basically operating as their head of like competitive teams.
Okay, cool.
So I met him through there. and realised that he was just starting.
Yeah.
I think he just started London Ballers, the actual YouTube football team, around the time that I joined. So I started to see him launching the team. So I said to him, like, come and tell us about the concept.
Yeah.
And
so I think he reached out through
there.
his personal page, Marcelo, first, and then he was like, "Yeah, I run London Ballers." They went on the page. I was like, "Oh, perfect!" Like,
yeah, they got a massive community. They got like 1,500 people in a group chat.
Yeah,
right?
and it's like we've had that connection. They're interested in the idea, and so people can say that, this year doesn't work, but like I know they'll come at some point.
Yeah,
because they want to grow, they want to do different things, and we had teams like Profesco who came and were like, "Oh, we'll come again and do this." So reaching these guys, it's making those connections first, and then from there. I know at some point they'll be part of the experience and come on the tour. It's again about finding like 4 teams that can compete and make a good tournament.
Well, with groups like that, you can really even just offer them the experience because they've got the player count. Yeah. If they wanted to, they could just do a strict London Ballers tour where you bring, let's say, 20 of them over and it's just 4 teams of 5 out of their own players. Like
that's one thing I say to people. Some people come from 11-a-side teams and I'm like, if you can get 25, 30 people, then we'll just do a tournament in between you, which means you're getting 30 lads on a holiday together. Like, actually is probably the best way you could run it, really.
Like, you really would just have the time of your life if it's your whole fucking 11
Make it something
club.
annual as well. And that makes my life easy because the hardest bit about me is finding the teams for each tour.
Exactly.
If you come with a whole squad and you know who's who and you split it up into 4 teams, the competition will be good. You all know each other. It's going to be a great time. And then you take that and you do it in Portugal, you do it in Malta, you do it in
that's
Tenerife.
it. Like you said, the whole idea of having multiple locations, you're not offering them the same experience over and over again.
Yeah, exactly that.
You just get to a point where you can just say, okay, right, you've got 4 years worth of holidays booked now, lads.
Yeah, easy as that. Yeah. Just tell us in advance. We're like, all right, okay, August 8th to the 13th or whatever, 2028. Right, we'll get it in with the hotels as soon as they're able to book that far. And then we'll just know that it happens. We'll work out the price, what it is. And then you could pay it over the 2 years if you wanted. Like, it makes it easier as well.
So the one thing I wanted to ask about, obviously I watched the setup, let's say, of your first tour. So when you went to Portugal for the first time, you'd had one pitch in mind going over there.
Yeah.
And then obviously, 2 days before the tournament started, you decided to change your plan?
Yeah.
What other kind of like little hiccups have you had since you've been running these that you've had to kind of think on the fly and fix, or you've maybe done one tournament and thought, oh, actually, we need to change that for the next one, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, good question. I think a lot of it was found out in that first tour. So I was just trying to make a YouTube video. And again, at this point, I didn't really know what making that looked like and tried these different things. I was just walking around and then the original pitch that I went first time October 24 with 2 of my mates. And again, they don't like football at all, but they were like, we'll come and take a look and whatever. And we'd found this 9-a-side pitch, which looked perfect for it. And then I just started walking down and I found the cafe. I was like, oh, this is literally a 7-a-side pitch right here. And then I went into the cafe and I spoke to the guy who was in there, and he is the president of the club that I was up at, who runs the cafe as well. And I was like, it was a third of the price. And we had 6-a-side teams on that tour as well. So I was like, I actually put it in the group chat. I was like, what do you reckon, lads? Like, which pitch would you rather play at? And they were all like, yeah, we're incredibly unfit. This one, the smaller one. And it's become the perfect setup because it's big goals. And that's often the selling point because people, I don't mind it, but like the waist size goals are so much better playing in bigger goals.
Me and Fred are the same, playing with those.
You can't score worldies really. And we've actually now had I think you would have seen the Profesco one where it goes bar, down, bar. And it's like, you can score genuinely like worldies in those goals. Whereas even when you hit top bins at the waist, like it's satisfying, but you'd rather be
bottom corner. It's not a top corner rocket.
You'd rather be satisfied with.
It feels way more like football when the goal is like a futsal, at least a futsal style square goal.
Yeah. So I found that pitch, and then part of it was like I'd got the VO, but the VO didn't quite fit on the sideline. So I was like, where do I put it? Outside the cage, inside. Sort of worked out a way to put the tripod. And then in terms of the presentation that we do at the end, that on the first tour was an idea I had after the games on the Friday.
Yeah.
I was like, because we were going to get everyone together and do the awards. And I was like, I should put something together here. And I literally quickly put something together on PowerPoint. It was really like makeshift and made up. So then when it came to the October ones, I'd had the time to put the presentation together. Okay, what am I putting on each slide? Goals of the tour, how we present the voting for the player of the tour. So everyone who gets a vote will come up on the screen. You get a bit of applause. And then we sort of build it up because the player of the tour is one they don't know. The top goal scorer, obviously, they can work out in their head.
Yeah.
So that was a part of it as well. And then even in terms of the footage, so the first time Clinton sent me over a Google file with maybe 12 to 15 clips in, and I realized he'd had all this footage that, because we did like walk-ons for the finals and I didn't have access to it because, you know, he's a videographer. He needs that space on his, and I never thought that through. So then for these October ones, I got an 8 terabyte hard drive. So
That's it. Yeah.
I get everything.
The amount of B-roll footage you can miss out on.
Game changer, because people were seeing the same clips from this March tour. Like, because I had one like main moment where one of my mates scores and he runs to the camera because they kept on saying in the build up, like, we're waiting for one moment, because I hadn't won a game yet. It's like one moment. And then he scores and everyone goes wild. And there's like, that's the moment. And I kept on rinsing that in any of the footage. And then luckily in the October tours, we had a last minute winner and a guy like running to the camera celebrating, and someone doing the PK humble with all the boys behind him. So like in terms of getting access to more footage, that first tour was so important because I worked out how it runs operationally, what time we need to get there, how long we need in terms of the booking, the presentation, and then how I deal with the footage when it comes. So when we're out there, Clinton churns out 3 or 4 videos that I can post on the day. So it's like real time. It's mainly like on the stories and the lives that people can embed themselves in the experience and understand what it's about. And then after the fact, you know, we've got the YouTube and the highlights videos that come out, but then we've got the moments that haven't necessarily been shown, and basically giving these guys like the spotlight they deserve for the moments they score. Like Kean's hat trick was just ridiculous, and I'll keep on posting those goals because, you know, he's a class player and it gives him the opportunity to like show that off, even if it's not on his page or anything. It's highlighting the level of player we can get, and also saying to other people who see it, like, if you're capable of this, you can then
come and do it abroad, get it on video, and then you can be the one showing it. The idea is that
everyone else has access, so everyone gets access to all the footage, all the video footage, and all the videographer. I just put it in a Google file, give access to, so they can flick through the whole games and find it. Because initially as well, I did all that myself and I was clipping through and I was like, actually, I'll just give it to all the boys. And
that's the one thing that I've found super helpful when you've got people that actually invest in the idea.
Yeah. You
can just let them almost do your marketing for you, because you know that if they've got good clips, they're going to make their own videos. They're going to be posting it to all of their mates.
And JR Twins did it, and SAFC did it. And even before I could get some of the posts out from the highlights, one of the teams, Wallop, who won it, they had already clipped up everything from the video and put it on their Instagram. So I'm like, part of it of me being like, I want it all to come from mine. But actually I'm like, that's the whole idea, is that these guys who want to build a social platform through football, it's providing them with, you know, hours of footage to do so on and off the pitch. So like, you know, the camera's going around before the games and they're saying like, you know, how are you feeling? What are your predictions? And then between games be like, you know, he's a good player. We'll go and, you know, comments on different moments and stuff. So they can then make their own YouTube video out of it. So it, again, promotes the idea, but promotes them and their experience.
I think that helps as well. Like, especially early on in the inception, having teams like JR Twins go over that, you know, are going to be just as keen as you to make content out of it. So it almost doubles down on what you're doing. It allows...
They were sort of the first team really that I connected with. So I messaged Ronan and I think they had maybe about 300 followers or something when but they'd been posting loads and they had way more subs on YouTube. So they were very much a YouTube based team. And I knew that they were, you know, a serious sort of board like team in the space. And I think it ended up being an hour and a half that me and Ronan were on the phone for. And I said to him, okay, like they were my first sponsor. So I bought them a kit, and they still wear it, and they're winning tournaments left, right and center wearing this kit with the sponsor on the front.
They're active. That's the one thing I'll always give them. I've tried to give them a little bit of advice on like just the production of some of their videos, because I think there's still a few things that they can get right with the formula, but they're active. And that's the one thing I think a lot of the YouTube scene recognize with them is
just consistency.
No matter where the tournament is, no matter where like the logistics are, they make it happen. They're always traveling around the country, all packing themselves into a car.
Exactly. You got to respect it.
They're dedicated and they do churn out content.
And those boys have supported like everything we've done, like always sharing, always reposting, always commenting, like engaging. And that's those teams and those people who are interacting with it in that way. That's what you remember as like me personally. And ultimately, as I said before, without teams like them and teams that believe in the concept from the start, it doesn't get to the point that it will. And Ronan was talking at the start, he's like, I think there's a massive opportunity for you here in a small-sided space because it's growing. And that gave me a bit more encouragement as well to be like, okay, there are teams that will want this experience, and maybe, you know, targeting it to those guys who do it and saying like, this is, look at this YouTube video these guys made. Like we've now given them the sponsorship of a new kit and playing around the UK in it as well. So yeah, there's always those teams, and they'll always be one of the teams that I backed from the start, and they backed it from the start as well. So yeah, I've got a very good relationship with those boys, and they're all just good lads really, which is primarily.
What made you reach out to them in the first place?
So I was just looking at all of those team pages on Instagram, and I was messaging every single one, and maybe like a 5-10% response rate, if that, because there's so many inactive pages, there's so many that are too big, and they dropped me a follow back, and obviously we just started having a conversation, and I'm just, at that point, I'm just trying to get the networking going, have as many conversations as possible, and we had that phone call, and I was like, okay, because it was about the sponsorship. I think they reached out messaging, asking for sponsorship, and I was sort of looking for a way into that scene. We spoke on the phone, and I was like, all right, look, I'll get you a kit, and then in return, you guys come on a tour. And he was like, yeah, we're game. Like, this is something that we would want to experience anyway. Like, it's perfect for their content. You know, Isaac was a top scorer, and he scored some bangers as well. Like, they made a good video out of it. They get content out of it. They get a sponsorship out of it. And I get, you know, their business and their loyalty and them coming back because they've been on the tour now, they know and trust in me to put in the experience. I haven't even told those boys like the rough logistics of Rhodes yet, because I think they just know and trust that we'll put on the tournament.
Yeah.
They're
just game to turn up.
We've got the cameras.
Just tell us
they
where
know
to be, when to be.
Abroad. Yeah, exactly. Just making it as easy as possible, and they just don't have to stress about it. So yeah.
Do you get anyone that's like busy in terms of clients that just nagging almost of confirming stuff like, oh, what are we doing here? When are we doing this? Like, or is everyone quite like easy to deal with?
I try and answer any questions they may have I send over a video, which is a 5-minute of me explaining the whole concept from start to finish. So that normally answers a lot of the questions. And then once the group chat's made, I send over an itinerary, which is the day-by-day breakdown, where you're staying, what's included. We got the booking confirmation email. So everything in terms of resources, I send over to them to try and preempt any of those questions. And then anyone who does have any, I'm in group chats with all these boys, so they can message me personally, message on the group chat, and I'll always sort of, because ultimately you want to know what you're experiencing. But I've got like the booking confirmation pack, which once a team books, just send over a Canva document, which essentially
almost
talks you through. Yeah. And it's like, this is where you are. This is where you're going to be. This is what happens in the meantime. These are the payment dates. If you want a kit, we've got our kit partners, Paladin. That's literally send them to a contact there, and then they deal with that. So that's sort of taken off of my plate as well. And they can come up with any design for a kit that they want for an extra price as well. So some of them do, some of them don't. A lot of them have. I think we're over 10 teams now that have sorted out the kits as well. Some of them with the Tiki Taka sponsor on the front, some of them, you know, with their own designs.
I mean, it adds to it, doesn't it? When you've got your own like special kit that made exactly for it.
Even, I mean, this is obviously I got through Paladin for when we created that partnership, and because it's got my brand and my badge on, I just wear it all the time. Like, I'm wearing it here, but I wear it at home. Like, I'll sit there just on a meeting, like on any type of call, or even just not even seeing anyone. And I'm just like, it's just nice to have your own like representation of your
I got to a point, I think last year, where I was like, I don't buy clothes often. And I was like, I can't justify spending £40-50 on like an Adidas t-shirt when it's cheaper for me just to go and make my own t-shirt, and at least then I'm wearing like my own
your own exactly
stuff, like it's free advertising, and just be lazy and every day just wear the same shit basically.
Exactly. I mean, I sometimes get rinsed for just wearing this, but I'm like, you know what, it's an eyeballs game for me at this point. It's like attention.
Like the more
I'll wear
people
it,
you
do
walk
like
past,
anything. So I'm always repping the hoodie, always repping and like some of my mates and a lot of my family bought a hoodie, and then I changed, rebrand, and some of them have bought some shorts and hoodie and stuff since. So I've got like people around me supporting it as well in that sense. Which is
my plan eventually is to try and sell some of the stuff that I got up there, but at the moment I'm just giving it out to anyone. Hey, I have a t-shirt.
That's the best way to do it.
I was like Fred. I always nag him like, "Oh, make sure you're wearing your hat today." Nah, to be honest, even today I'm not wearing anything. It can be asked. Woke up. I had to log into work anyway, so I was like, fuck
yeah, fair enough.
But it's been cool. I like the idea. And again, I think it's just one of those things where we mentioned earlier, like it's just going to keep growing and growing. I think before you know it, you're going to have your almost separate tiers where you'd have your Sunday league kind of package. You've got your small-sided package. I imagine pro teams are going to like this idea as well. Like, even if they're not, let's say, professional 11-a-side teams, you might be getting professional 7, professional 6s that come around and say, can you find us like other teams in other countries or whatever that we can play against?
And we've had on the page, obviously, because I'm posting twice a day, so just trying to get as much attention as possible. And we've had a few guys from that space, so like Dom Perez and a couple of the Baller League players who follow, and I've had conversation with at the start. And actually someone who just came into my head, I think you should get on the pod, is in terms of the pro side of it, is Sam, who is a co-founder of Playfair, which they've created a platform that basically deals with team fines. And a lot of it is he's played sort of semi-pro at that level, and they've gone to teams like National League and below and around that area. And it's basically a platform where rather than having a fine master, they enter it into the app and then it collects it all. And then by the end, we had the conversation because they're looking at, providing things at the end when you've got that kitty to do, and offering this as one of those experiences, whether it's in the structure that we currently have or finding a professional like pitch or team they can go out and play with. But they're sort of at the early stages of their business as well. But that's again a route into the semi-professional, professional game. And I think I'll put you in contact with him.
Yeah,
He'd be a great
do.
person to get, and I think he's looking to do more of this stuff. And again, their content is great as well. But yeah, I mean, professional teams, there'd be maybe a bit more of an insurance issue about that. But the longer term, the idea is from anyone who can barely kick a ball to the guys who can legally go and do it if they're at a professional, contracted, whatever, want it to be accessible to everyone. We want to reach into the women's game, but a lot of people from that interested and going to try and maybe get something either in autumn this year, definitely start of next year. It's just a demand issue, once we get more eyeballs and more attention on it, and there are enough, for a women's team tour, you just need the 4 teams. So if there are 4 teams they're interested, then we'll make it happen. Same with like all of these tours. But like you say, we'll build the network, and and it will grow into playing teams from these places, playing teams in tournaments, or maybe having a tournament set up somewhere where it's one English team, one French team, one team from Portugal.
I think the World Cup idea could work nicely, where you almost bring a team from each country together
coincide it with, maybe
location.
4 years time as opposed to like this one, because it's obviously not much time to plan. But in the same time as a World Cup year, you could definitely do that, or a Euros year. There's so much opportunity with it, and I often have to bring myself back to like think big picture. And
do you know, I have that issue sometimes where you get almost wrapped up in what it can be, that you're like, actually no, back to where I am.
It's great to be delusional and like have those, because like, if you didn't have those,
there's nothing to aim for. But
that's why I always talk about. And I think anyone who knows me like knows that I believe that this will become like a global platform. And that's why I always say like, I'm trying to build a global platform for amateur footballers wherever they're based to play abroad, because you crack the US market and you got them going down to Mexico or Brazil or coming over to Europe. You crack the UK market first, and then you can get, do it in reverse. I live in London, and we've got, like we were talking about, maybe not the style of pitches that we have, but that one on the roof of Old Street, you rent that out for one of the days and do a round robin on that. And then you do another one around London, and you get teams from Europe coming the other way. And then that saves my expenses and costs on that front. And I can just do it in reverse. People would love to come to, one of the best cities in the world and play. So there's so many different avenues for it.
Methods of actually running
it's just working
it,
out how you, I think action's always the most important thing to do, is just when you have the idea, just making it happen. And that's what's got me to this point now. And I'll just keep, when I have those ideas and it's doable, just taking action on it, trying to make something happen, and then more opportunities will just continue to.
I think one thing that could be quite cool as an idea to factor in and like bring in the team from the actual local side. Let's say when you're running one in Malta, you could do your 4-team tournament and then almost put together the team of the tournament, and then they play like an all-star game against a team of the locals. So then you bring in the local side for that final day to
definitely.
just come and play.
Like integrating local.
A guest match, exactly. Where it's
that's
like
definitely important.
You almost bring together the best of each team. And see how they fare against the local team, something like that.
A long term, I want to be able to get the teams where we go to the destinations involved in every aspect of it. And then even socially, like you could make mates with someone who's from Malta, and then, in this day and age, you connect on Instagram. And if you ever go back, or if you ever, see them in another part of the world, you'd be like, oh, like let's connect or whatever. I think
it's great. Fred will agree to this as well. Like somewhere like Malta, if you've got locals actually out with you, it definitely levels up the experience. Like,
They always know where to go. Like when I went to Thailand I'd been to my 3rd time in Thailand. I've been there 4 times. My 3rd time I went to Bangkok, and it was my 3rd time in Bangkok. First 2 times I went as a 19-year-old, and it was my first time out of Europe, and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And then the 2nd time I went with my girlfriend at the time. Then the 3rd time I went with my mate who lived there and worked at Harrow International School. So we'd lived in the city for 2 years, I think, at that point. And I'd always gone to Koh San Road, which was like the busiest place to go. And he was like, nah, we need to go Soy Cowboy, which is what it's called. He was like, this is where the Hangover scene was filmed.
Okay.
And we were like, okay. And before that, I'd always be take it or leave it with Bangkok. And everywhere he took us, I was like, this is a different experience. And I was like, I actually love this city. It's great. Whereas the previous time, I was a bit like, we went to the wrong place, it's more touristy. But then we went to what someone who lived there for 2 years actually experienced.
It's my favorite way of traveling. I really don't like traveling and just getting roped into doing the touristy stuff. I like going there knowing someone on the other end that's going to basically show me what it's like to actually live there, because like you said, the experiences are just levels apart.
Yeah, completely different. And I think that's again something we can integrate longer term when we talk about showing the proper side of these destinations. If we actually include normal tour type experiences around it, you connect with people in the area, and then again, you're giving them a platform. You can promote their tourism business to anyone who's going to that destination, not playing. We can connect them to, whoever it is that's doing like the speedboat thing you mentioned in Malta earlier. Easy connection, like promoting that and finding the actual authentic experiences in these places and getting the best out of it, because every place has those. It's
definitely one of those things where almost the package you're offering, because of all the video highlights that come out after it, not just focused on the football.
Yeah.
You almost can get in touch with the tourism boards of the countries or of the local cities that you're going into and saying to them, like,
what do you want to highlight?
Tell us what to do. Like, put together almost a little plan for us. And they'll probably end up giving you some level of discount to it, because you're obviously giving them something in return.
Yeah.
And then from that, the amount of eyes, let's say, as the package grows and the reach grows in audience.
Yeah, exactly. That will happen more as you get
the amount of like partnerships you'll be able to spawn just because of that level of give and take that you get from each place you go to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, initially to start up this business, I was searching pitches online on Google Maps, and I was just scouring Seven Aside, Portugal, Spain, like La Manga, all these different places. And I said to myself then, I know this will get to a point where rather than me having to look for a pitch, there'll be people coming to me. I actually didn't expect it to happen after one tour.
Yeah.
But then I put that video out, because if you don't ask, you don't get. And I ended up in Malta, in Rhodes, even in Thailand when I went over New Year. I went and checked out a couple of pitches over there. They're absolutely incredible. When we talk about like scenic pitches, by the beach, absolutely perfect. But you don't know about these things until you literally go out there and find.
I find a lot of countries as well, their Google is not like up to date.
Yeah.
Like if you Google football pitch in Malta, you really don't find a lot come back. Like you see the 11-a-side pitches, because obviously most of the football teams have their own grounds for training, but you're not typically going to find the 5-a-side. They've only just set up the app now, Sports Booking MLT, that kind of gives you a bit more coverage of what pitches are there. But even then, it's not super heavily advertised where locations are. It's like, unless you know where they are.
Yeah. And when you're creating an international football experience, obviously we're playing and we're taking and facilitating that for teams. But for me, the long-term plan has always been, how can we integrate live football games into this experience? So when we were in Malta in August, we saw Hammer and Spartans in a Europa League qualifier. Atmosphere was class. The backdrop to that pitch is insane. And I love going to live football. I'd go to Stamford Bridge a lot. I've been to the Euros in 2024. We watched Spain, France at the Allianz. That is always a massive addition. Yeah. So our current destinations maybe don't lean to it in terms of top level football, but maybe that's the beauty of it. You can go and see teams like Hammer and Spartans in their qualifying in the start of August, which is before, the start of any other season.
They made history this year. They're the first Maltese team ever to make the group stage of an actual European competition. Yeah.
I mean, and part that is an experience I will remember always, because the atmosphere was great, and it's a local. I mean, you see how much these guys love football, just because they're not from the UK where we get the highest level. Like their passion for the game is still the same as ours over here, and there's no reason not to integrate that into the wider experience and have 2 playing days. Then on the Saturday we go and travel to Hammer and Spartans or wherever it is in Portugal, a third division team, and go and watch and create. You've got 30 lads that you can create an atmosphere with there as well. So that's a massive opportunity as well to jump into too.
Yeah, I think there's so many different ways you can kind of just branch out the experience. And the more you do it, the more you'll find out what works. You might in your head think, oh, this is going to work really well, do it. And then think, actually, no, that was shit.
Yeah, exactly.
leave that bit out.
Yeah.
But
you just got to learn by the process of doing. Exactly. And that's why I'll always try and do these different things and new things and getting feedback from everyone.
Yeah, that's it. Again, it all depends on the crowd of people you bring. You might bring a group of 30 out that just don't really have that drinking culture. So then you've got to be a bit more creative about okay, let's go and do waterboarding activities or other stuff that.
Yeah. And I don't want people to ever feel left out because they don't drink. And a lot of that, you know, we even just like whether it's religious purposes or lifestyle purposes, want to be able to make it an inclusive. And maybe for this destination, Albufeira is very like lads holiday, strip holiday. But that's why the range of destinations is so important, because you've got people who want different things. And even the JR Twins one, like we joke about it on the chats now, but the first 2 nights while the football was going on, they were back and playing Uno, like at the hotel. And I went and joined in, and what Isaac lost and he jumped in the pool at like whatever time it was, 11. It's a freezing cold pool as well. Like they did that, and that was their own thing, and they really enjoyed it that way. Some of the other lads went off to the casino and enjoyed it that way. So everyone's going to have a difference in preference. As long as you're, you know, there at the football, you're integrating with the other guys, you're making the most of the experience. Ultimately, how you choose to spend it is up to you.
It's good because, again, it can quite easily turn the atmosphere a little bit toxic if you've got people getting, let's say, bitched out for not drinking. And peer pressure.
And you never want that. I mean, I think society's also changing a bit. I've seen a lot of stats around younger people drinking so much more less than other generations. And
I'm not a big drinker. I rarely drink.
You know, a lot of people, you know, the same. And, you know, just because it's how I choose to spend my holidays and weekends with my mates, it doesn't mean that I have to push it onto anyone else. So I never want anyone to feel like that's the pressure of it. That's just the current marketing of how you do it at the start. Is we've got lads holiday and football combined.
I think the two go very hand in hand though. I mean, let's face it, especially in the UK, that culture of
away
amateur
days,
Sunday league football, it's very much win or lose, we hit the booze, go and get pissed.
And that's one of the team's names that are coming in May is win or booze FC. So like we'll get those, and maybe just to be perfectly honest, that's what I'm trying to get to at the start, because I know those boys will take it off. But then you branch out and you make it so that even if we do like different social type experiences and, you know, split it up that way, or, you know, however you want to look at it. But ultimately, if anyone wants to play football abroad, we don't want them to feel like they can't do it for the reason of like they feel like it's a certain culture, even if that's what I'm currently pushing out, just because that's the demographic of the groups that we've had. That's how we get, you know, the best marketing material for the chanting at the karaoke's and stuff. But ultimately, if you're on the pitch, and even on the pitch, like at the final of the first October tour, there was a bit of a coming together and a bit of a scuffle and sort of words said, and sort of like nipped it in the bud and said like don't ruin it for yourselves now, you know. And then off the pitch they shook hands and then were chanting at each other, and, you know, the night afterwards, and, you know, arms around each other, and that's what it's all about really. So yeah, you never want anyone to feel excluded. And that's why also with solo players, so many people say, do we need a team? And I'm like, yes, only at the moment, but we will have, once we have the destinations where, you know, we've got contacts or we can play against local teams, for example.
Do you know what would also be quite cool actually for the, let's say the solo parties down the line? Doing a draft night as part of day one. Yeah, like you bring 30 people together.
Because I can't guess teams before they come,
exactly.
Right? So
you just 30 players. You can almost do like a drop-in game, maybe just to get
bibs with numbers on.
Exactly.
Be like, okay, 1 to 30, and then me and whoever, like say we come and do it in Malta. You know, me and you are stood on the sideline and we're like noting down literally like that type of draft. I've had that in my head as an idea because we got someone filming everything, and you're like having the conversations with the camera or whatever, and you're like, okay, this guy needs to be.
Because then you could almost tier it out into like seed groups, like, you know how they do the seeded teams in Champions League. Okay, our seed 1 players, these are our top tier players, so we don't want these guys on the same team. We've got our
4 in each.
Exactly, and then you just draft it out randomly, wheel spin or something like that. You do a big presentation of like all the players in a wheel spin, and you draft the teams out like that on the day.
I mean, so in terms of format, think about how different that is to how it currently run it. But we get the operational logistics up and running first. And then if you say to these guys, do you mind sharing with someone that you don't know? Yeah. Most of them, because I've got a booking inquiry form for solo players, they all say, yeah, fine, because that's part of the idea, part of the experience. Or they come with 2 of them, and, you know, that's 1 room sorted or apartment or whatever. Even if it's groups of 3 or 4, you know, they can't make a whole team, but they can still come as part of the experience. So that's what I mean about the format. And now it's just how I'm running it. And a lot of teams have said, if you start running it in a different way, let us know, because we want to play against local teams. We want to do this, do that. And I'll say, okay, so you're interested in the idea of it. It's just how it runs currently now isn't for you. And
just, that's absolutely it offers fine. You such like creativity within the own structure that you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really cool.
Is why I said like the importance is just doing it, making it happen. So then when people, and I have these conversations where people come up with different ideas, like the draft, like solo players, like playing against local teams, I can be like, rather than being like, nah, like this format I've got is how it's going to work. I can be like, okay, that can work. How do we get that operationally running? How do we get, you know, how many people do we need to sign up and commit to a tour to make that happen. So the flexibility is great. And again, it'll be one of those things, once time goes on, there'll be so many different branches to it and the way that it looks as well.
So tell me a list of the countries that you've scouted so far.
Yeah.
And a list of the countries like in your hit list that you want to scout.
So places I've been, obviously Portugal's the flagship destination. Rhodes we've got as a pilot at the end of April. Tenerife I've been to twice and hopefully setting up this year. Malta obviously went to last year, which is when I connected with yourself, and going on a lads holiday this year, which will hopefully create some more content for. Thailand, I've been to Koh Samui and Koh Tao and seen pictures over there. And that's it on that front that I've seen so far. And then in the future, though, so my contact in Brazil, in Rio, that's one I really want to go check out. I'm going to Barcelona with another group of mates this summer, and we're going to go and check out a pitch there as well. And then in terms of other dream destinations, I think doing one in Africa would be really cool. Yeah. So I've seen a team that went to Morocco recently. So Marrakesh, somewhere like that would be super cool. And I've had a lot of people from South Africa are interested in South Africa. So them two as destinations, 100% interested. And then longer term, the US and infiltrating that market and doing maybe a couple of weeks there and, finding out more about the football culture there and more about what the demand would be. Again, through the content, I've had guys in Miami and different places that have reached out and said, we think you should come here and do this. So I've now got that web of connections. So yeah, it will just be continuing to build that and do that and trying to make something happen, even if it's just creating content, going and visiting these places. And then once people see it, and that's sort of the purpose behind the content and YouTube and Instagram, is you show them what this looks like. And that's, I think, part of what I try and do as our brand and the personal brand that I'm creating is I'm not just telling you that playing football abroad is cool. I'm putting my own time and money into going and doing it and showing and meeting people like yourself from these different places, showing the local culture, showing the stuff outside the pitch, where you could be staying, what you could be doing, rating it on different levels.
It's
maybe
the preview, isn't it?
Exactly. So in the future for Tenerife now, I've done a video and maybe it didn't get loads of views, but as soon as the guys who are coming are interested, they can watch 12 minutes of me going to the pitch where they're playing at and then going to the 11-a-side pitch, which again, in terms of talking about different formats, I'm thinking about combining two teams and doing a big 11-a-side team against each other. So yeah, plenty of opportunity, plenty of places to go. And I think, there's no real limit on where we can access and where we can reach, because everywhere's got a pitch. Everyone loves football and everyone loves traveling. So I'm
going to put you on the spot now. Out of the countries you've been to, I want top 3 and why. Sell me on them. So in terms of like destination for it, obviously you've done the 2 in Portugal.
Yeah.
You've got one coming up in Rhodes. You've looked at other countries. Yeah. I want you to rank what you think the best 3 destinations will be and why.
I think the reason, so number 1 was Portugal, because in terms of a holiday destination, the Algarve is perfect. Yeah. And the pitch that we've got there is perfect. And now I've run it and I'm seeing how it works. We've got the hospitality discounts. We've got everything sorted there, organized. That's why I see it as a flagship destination, because if another one was easier, I feel like I would have found it. So perfect weather for, 8 months of the year, maybe. Great nightlife in Albufeira. It's super cheap over there as well. Like you're paying €2.70 with our discounts for beers, and you can get dinner for €8. So cheap. Great weather, great nightlife, and great pitch venue. Yeah. In terms of scenic pitches, I would say the one I went to in Tenerife is probably, and I think in terms of scaling, I would put maybe Rhodes in second. Yeah. Because when I went round that island, there were unbelievable pitches in the mountains by the sea. They're more 11-a-side, so it'll be interesting to work out how the structure of that goes. And then third, it's hard between Malta and Tenerife. I'm going to put them both as tied because they're I think they're quite similar in like islands and also really good in terms of timing and weather, like places to go, like the Malta thing, pitches and paddle courts right next to each other. And some of them, again, stunning pitches, really accessible. And like you say, when you get in contact with people who are there and who know it, it's really easy to get things up and running. So I've got that in Malta and in Tenerife. So I see them as really quite similar. Is the understanding the leagues and the culture of how it works and sort of using that first. And then hopefully when we get out there, promoting what it's like and the culture there. But if you think about a holiday, Tenerife is hot all year round. Malta's good to go in, later in the off seasons as well. Yeah.
I'd say definitely Malta, your key kind of times to go there. You're looking at May, June, skip July and August because it's so hot that it's unplayable.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like unbearable. And then October is amazing.
Yeah,
over
so
there.
October in terms of a time, I think is perfect for a lot of these places, Portugal, Malta, and Tenerife is then one you can go in November, January, February, because it's still 20 degrees when it's miserable here. So it's flexibility that you want as well. Like I always had the idea that July and August would never be months that we ran tours, because it's so hot and all these things, but people want to do it. Yeah. We'll work. I mean, I haven't done it yet, but we'll work it out in Portugal when we come around to it in the heat. But
I think the English people, their idea of holiday is go and get absolutely roasted on the first day and then spend the rest of the holiday.
People getting sunburn in October, so God knows, I'm going to have to get like a shelter or something
spending the rest of the holiday with heat stroke, running around, throwing up on the pitch.
Yeah, but making sure the business isn't like cyclical and something we can run all year round, which is why, again, like going to Asia or
changing continent definitely just opens up the calendar all year round.
And it's something that, the weather's always good somewhere in the world, so there's no reason we can't run it all year round.
Another question to put you on the spot: top 3 players that have taken part.
Top 3 players that have taken part. So I would have to say one, simply for the voting on this. The best player probably so far is Shaden from Sports Attire FC. He won 22 votes out of 34, 32, or whatever it is. And he was miles ahead of the rest. And he scored 9 goals. He was one out of being top goal scorer. Scored some great goals. I think he's a small, like really good small-sided player, like plays with.
He's the one that joined JR Twins.
Yeah,
right?
so that's their connection through him. He'll be playing with them a lot. And he's had England 6-a-side trials. Yeah. So he's definitely one of the best. And then from that tour as well, Kian, I mentioned his hat trick. Yeah. He plays step football, semi-pro. He's got an agent, and that hat-trick he scored was probably never going to be beaten on tour, and he's a classy player. He's coming back as well to Rhodes, so I'm looking forward to seeing him play. And then probably staying on that tour as well, Ben Potts, JR Twins. He's England 6-a-side. Unfortunately, he got injured at the Baller League Community Cup, but he's again one of those small-sided players where very technical.
He's got really tidy footwork.
Yeah, he's really I actually don't know what his strong foot is. So when you're trying to guess what a player's strong foot is, that's when you know that they're very technical and very strong. So actually, I've left out a couple keepers there which is quite harsh. But the best performance I've seen on a tour, shout out to my mate Harry, because he played for Middlesex Offenders against Wallop, and he put on the best keeping performance I've ever seen. Yeah. And the boys were going up to him at the end, and they still commented on a post recently that they're still having nightmares about him because some of the saves that he made, he was our 6-a-side keeper at Uni and Bath, and he's just, we call him the cat because his reflexes are insane. He's a cricketer, so, he's a batter. The time between, his decision making is unreal.
Hand-to-eye coordination.
Yeah, shout out to him as well, because he put on an absolute clinic, and he literally had his team chanting England's number 1 because he was that good. So I got to give him his flowers as well.
And best team that you've had?
Best team, well, SAFC were the one they won. They were underdogs coming into it, and I don't think many people, when you look at the teams that come, they would have expected JR Twins and Pathetico maybe to be the final. And a lot of that was led by Shaden's performances. He was class, but Needsy in goal was great, and they just had a quite good, well-rounded team, and they actually, you could tell it meant a lot to them to win it. So they have won the hardest tour yet. So I've got to say that they've been the best team we've had so far.
I like it. I think we can start to wrap up there. Tell us what's on the calendar for the rest of the year.
So I don't know when this will go out, but next week, end of March, we've got the first tour of the year out in Portugal. Then we've got the pilot end of April in Rhodes, another one in Portugal, middle of May, another one in Portugal in July and September, and 2 in October, and then hopefully get
really
Tenerife.
Bumped up the business.
Yeah, so in terms of how that's structured, 4 of them are fully booked. That's the next 3 in September. July, we've got 3 teams, so about to get over the line. And October is, last year when I had the March tour, I managed to sell 4 spots for October after that. So I'm confident. I've had a lot of conversations with different teams, and I'm confident that those 2 will go as well. And then having conversations with teams that have been already about setting up Tenerife at the start of November. So hopefully 8 for the year is the goal. And then, building momentum, getting more brands involved, getting more content, footage, exposure, all these things, and proof of concept, really, getting people back in the brand and wanting to feel part of it as well. Because those who come early, when they see it get to the heights that it will in the future, they'll feel like part of the journey as well, which is super important, and building that community of people as well.
What sort of price range are people looking at to get involved?
I mean, the way that I try and frame it is that it's just exactly the same as what any other holiday that you'd pay on, really. So, you know, we're trying to make it accessible and affordable, and that's the whole idea. And even with maybe the March ones and the first few, I probably underpriced it, and because I just wanted to make it happen and wanted to make sure that people couldn't miss out on it because of that experience. But I think the fact that the prices that we've got, they're flying out and going already, it shows that it's, you know, accurately marketed, and you know, in terms of for a 4-night trip, you know, wherever else you go in the world without having football as the experience, or in Europe, you're going to be paying a similar amount anyway. So, you know, I always try and think, you know, what kind of price people have in mind is pretty much, when you take it all into account, especially in Portugal with the prices you pay over there, you know, you're paying the same as any other holiday that you would.
And it's going to vary destination to destination.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, Tenerife, we're going to do 5 days. So that'll be a little bit more. You know, Portugal, we've got 4 days. And again, in the summer, it'll be more expensive than in the winter. So it's a lot of different things to think about. But again, as I said, it's that group holiday experience with
hassle-free.
Yeah, it's just, you're sort of paying for someone to take it off your plate. And I know firsthand from the group chats that I'm in how hard it can be to get.
Honestly, it's my biggest nightmare trying to arrange football matches.
So I always, you know, I try and team up with the one mate who's like, yeah, let's organize it. And I'm like, okay, we'll do this together, man. We'll get the boys out there. And I always say, like, I promise you, once you come and book, you won't regret it, because I've got all these testimonials from the boys that have come before. Everyone's had a sick time. And the most important metric for any business like this is repeat customers, and everyone wants to come back. Everyone's backing it, supporting it on socials. So
even just the videoing of it, everything, the whole package,
the experience, like, you'll never forget it, because you can always
be able to go on a holiday with your mates and then have that memory cemented forever in video.
Yeah, and you know, maybe we don't share everything that we capture on the videos, which is important to say as well, but they'll have access to it, they'll be able to relive it, and we also make a YouTube video out of each tour, so it's like they can remember and relive it that way. That's part of the USP really, is yes, we're doing these things, but most importantly, the whole experience is captured, and it makes you feel like sort of that professional type thing, is that like all of our games are captured. If I do something sick, or if I celebrate in front of the camera, there's no difference between that and, you know, the people doing it on the biggest stage, apart from the hundreds of thousands a year they're paid, and the audience that is watching them. But hopefully we can build that audience to the point where we're spotlighting the amateur game, because I think it's such a special thing we've got, especially in this country, highlighting the importance of the amateur game and the characters within it, because some of these guys are hilarious. Some of them love the game, are so passionate about it, and highlighting everything about these teams. Like, they need to be the stars of the show, really. And that's the idea behind capturing everything.
Right. Final thing before we finish. Okay, cool. Right. Final thing before we finish. I want top 3 moments that have happened on tour. I want you to include the wildest thing that's happened on one of the nights out.
Okay, so in terms of moments on the first tour, I mentioned earlier, one of my mates scoring, and they kept on saying to the camera, we need a moment. They hadn't won a game. And then that moment came, and they all ran to the camera celebrating. And that's the best footage that we've had so far. Second to that on the pitch would be penalty shootout in the semi-final, SAFC and Pathetico. They had got to the last penalty, and the keeper took the penalty. He saved the penalty, and then he slotted the penalty, and the celebrations after that were unreal. And then the last on the pitch one would be, we had a VAR drama moment in the final where there was a handball, and I had to go and check the camera, and it all built up very dramatically, and they ended up missing the penalty in the final, and then it went straight to the final whistle. So that was great. And then off the pitch, one of the boys got a matching tattoo with a girl that he met that night. She already had the tattoo, and he got it on his forearm, and then later found out after getting it that she had a boyfriend as well.
Jesus,
so that's probably the most hanging moment that's happened off the pitch. Absolute shocker.
You'll have to send me a little picture.
I've got a little video of it. I haven't put it on the socials for his sake, and maybe for hers as well.
It's going to be one awkward night out when he returns to that place and he bumps into another guy that's got the exact same tattoo. Oh, look, we're the same. Right, brilliant. Ben, where can people find you online?
At Tiki Taka Tours on Instagram, at tiki.taka.tours on TikTok, and the same at tiki-taka.tours on YouTube as well. So those are the 3 main platforms we're on.
Been a pleasure having you on.
Absolute pleasure.
Thanks for joining us.
Cheers.
And good luck for the future.
Thank you very much.
We'll hopefully see some unprofessional 5s involved
Definitely.
in some capacity along the way.
Yeah, no doubt.
Right, boom, done.
Awesome.
Hour and a half, love it.
Bye.